Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Scarbo here at the Seeds of Transformation. And today we're going to have our high tea with Reverend Denise. This is our 12th episode. And today is the last day of 2021, and it happens to be Reverend Denise's birthday. Happy birthday, Denise.
Thank you so much. It's very fun to be with you on my birthday and to be communing with all your viewers. And today's a big one for me. I'm 65 today,
Yeah.
and I guess I'm officially a senior citizen. Is it 65 now that makes you officially a senior citizen?
Yes, I think it's still considered senior citizen.
Yeah.
And I think it just has to do with at 65 you can get your Social Security.
Yeah.
You can go, I think
Medicare and all that. Medicare. Yeah.
Of course, they want you to do it later, of course, right? But
not the Medicare. They hound you till you get a new Medicare, till you get a Medicare plan at 65. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's good though, because that's the medical care, right? That's what you need.
Yeah.
As we get older, it seems that's what we need more of, right?
I can attest to that. Yeah, I would agree.
So 65 is an 11 vibration. If you add the 6 and 5 together, it's an 11, which is light, spiritual light messenger. And I couldn't think of a better moniker. Is that the word? Moniker, right? For you.
I love it. I think it's great. I think it's perfect because I do feel like a light messenger, an angel. I do feel like a light messenger. I feel like that's what I do.
Yeah.
Exactly. I help to bring light. I'm a light bearer or whatever.
Yeah. And bringing light to a situation is not always welcome.
No, I try to wait until I'm invited.
Yeah.
Or else I do it completely silently, so nobody even knows what I'm doing, and that's probably most of the time when I'm
right.
Out in the community, doing things.
Well, that comes with the wisdom of age, right?
Well, yeah. When I was much younger, I told everybody what I thought they should do all the time, and it wasn't really well received. I learned there's an added. This was when I was in my teens and 20s. I learned a lot of lessons, a lot of valuable lessons. But what I learned, and it's a truth for me, and I try to live by it to the best of my ability, is that unsolicited advice is never welcome.
That's right.
It's just not. I don't like it when people give me unsolicited advice, and I try not to give it to someone. And if I get a message in my head and it's with a friend or someone that, I always ask, I say, I'm getting a feeling, would you like to hear about it, or you want to just move on? I ask because I want permission. And someone signs up with me for a reading, because I do channeled readings and channeled card readings. And I've been doing it for 30 some odd years. So if they hire me, then of course that's implicit permission to give them what I got. But
right.
Other than that, try to keep my mouth shut. That's not easy.
Well, you are a Capricorn, a double Capricorn, we might say.
Triple Capricorn.
Well, actually, triple Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Mercury. Yeah. And they say Capricorns are born old, and then as they get older, they get younger. Mm-hmm. That it's like when you're young, you're like a little professor, and then by the time you get to the point where other people are becoming professors, you're all into your inner child, and so the wisdom comes early, but the way to actually be able to dispense that wisdom, comes a little bit later. So
a little bit later, yeah. The interesting thing about being on the planet for as long as I've been on the planet is the growth never ends. I never stop learning. I never, I just feel like I keep expanding and fall on my face and learning from it and getting back up, brushing myself off. And then I think, I've got something new to teach people when they go through that. Everything now that when I have down times or upsets or whatever, I try to get appreciative of it right away. I try to and cut it off at the pass a little bit by saying, more wisdom. I learned something new. Yay, I learned something new. I learned what not to do in a particular situation or whatever. And oh, I got something new to teach if it ever comes up with any of my clients. Yay, because you know me and you've heard me in the years past when I would make a mistake or I would push someone away by, accident. I never knew I was doing that. It was not a conscious intent. And I would get shit from people, it would take months for me to stop obsessing on it and to stop wanting to fix it and to stop wanting to do the next thing to make that person feel better. I wanted to make everybody feel better. I wanted everyone to be at peace, especially at peace with me. And now I just take it the way it is. And I try not to obsess anymore because it just doesn't do any good.
Well, we really don't have any power outside of ourselves anyway.
No.
All the power comes from within. And if you're trying to help somebody and help somebody and help somebody who is not necessarily open to what you have to offer, then you kind of have to put the mirror in front of yourself and say, well, what in this situation, right, is reflected in me?
Right.
What in them do I think is broken? And you have to kind of look at yourself and say, do I feel broken in my life?
You were the grandest teacher for me with that lesson, because I remember 10, 15 years ago, calling you and going, do you know what she did to me? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm all in a snit about something. And you would listen very patiently. And then as soon as I took a breath, you had an opportunity to speak, you would say, and what is it about her that reminds you of yourself? And you'd get me every time. You were a very good teacher with me on that particular topic. You were the one that helped me turn that around and say everything that I'm seeing in other people is a part of me.
That's right.
You were the one that really helped me with that, just with very simple words. And the greatest wisdom can come in simple words. Those simple words of, and what is it about her that reminds you of yourself? Mm-hmm. That is a healing question, because it turns the focus from outwardly directed to inwardly directed.
Right, because the only real power you have is to change yourself.
Right. And we're just mirrors for what's going on around us if we allow ourselves to be. And so if I'm seeing negativity, there's something in me that's negative. And I'm seeing life through a negative lens, and I'm the only one that can fix that. I'm the only one that can change that. So, yeah.
And we do have to realize that on some level, the negative serves as well. I mean, everything
all does.
serves it's not,
Everything
it's not,
does.
Yeah, it's not so much, we don't have, we can't, I think that we have to aspire to be understanding and whole and accepting of it all, because even the most annoying things about ourselves or other people serve a purpose. Like, how in a situation like that, how does that serve that? Like, if somebody's super selfish and you're just like, oh, they did it again, they're super selfish. You have to appreciate their super selfishness. How does it work in their life? Mm-hmm. Also, so it's sort of a place of non-judgment, and I think just a place of observation.
There are two words that I've learned over the course of my two phrases, I should say, over the course of my training, over the course of my learning, or whatever. One is this secondary gain. When someone is suffering, mm-hmm. there's always a secondary gain. And if we're looking for the secondary gain, we gain more understanding and maybe more compassion for the person, because why is someone whining or acting as though they were, what's the word I'm looking for, when they imagine being sick? Psychosomatic.
Right.
But,
well, people will invest in their sickness. I mean, I've been in.
They do, and there's a reason for that.
And yeah.
Secondary gain,
that's right.
And then if you can come to the place where you're like, oh, they really just need love right now. They really need just understanding, and I don't have to continue the conversation if it's making me uncomfortable. But if I can give a couple of compassionate words and then break off, then that's the best, kindest thing I can do. I really believe that listening to people everyone's got to tell their stories at one point or another. And sometimes I'm the one that listens to people's stories. Telling a story to someone that can help them move forward can be a really cathartic thing. And it's really important to talk about your stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
When you're in the headspace of, I want to move forward with this, when you're in the headspace of, life sucks, the world's crappy and nothing ever works out for me, and poor me, and it turns into a lot of self-pity, that's not necessarily helpful for that person. And when people are in that mode, it depends on if they're a client or a family member, I do it differently. I mean,
well, family members, forget it. You can't. Number one rule of a healer, you can't heal your family.
No,
you can heal yourself, and in healing yourself, you heal your family line.
Amen to that.
Changes things.
When someone in my family is going on like that, I say, listen, you remember I'm an empath, and I'd like to change the subject now before I take in how you're feeling. The people that understand me in my family, there's a couple I can talk to like that. Mm-hmm. And for the people that don't get it, I just say, wow, thanks for the info. I've got the story now. So let's move on to some way we can, move forward from this. And what's the next right step? And what direction can we move in terms of healing that? And that's more what I do with clients. What I listen and then I try to find people help them find another path, for moving forward and getting past and absorbing and letting go and whatever it is.
So Denise,
yes.
2021 has been quite the year for many of us, right?
Yes.
It has been the universal year vibration of 2021 was a 5. And actually in the Kabbalah, that is associated with a path where we learn to listen to the small, still voice within.
Amen.
So if you feel like, you're hearing voices, you probably are during 2021. It's mostly your own, hopefully from a higher perspective, so that it's actually helpful.
From your higher self, possibly.
From your higher self, exactly. Yeah. But it is a vibration of change, and it is a vibration of freedom. And we have had, I think, from my experience, we've freed ourselves from a lot of beliefs perhaps that we've had. I know for me, I've had a lot of challenges to my belief system. Mm-hmm. And, where I thought I believed one thing exclusively, but what this year for me has done is it sort of pulled me back a little bit to actually be less sure of what I believe and more open to the information coming in. And so I
are open to pivot and to move in a slightly different way.
Just not be so sure of a specific thing. I'm sure of this. This is what I believe. And I've had to adjust that to a certain extent. But of course, I'm a chiropractor, so I'm used to adjusting things. And I have in my chart, I have a big yod, which for those astrologers out there, you know what I'm talking about, which is all
finger, about, isn't it?
It's the finger of God. And for me, it's on my Jupiter. Jupiter is what you believe. So I've had to make some changes in my belief systems, but we've all had to do that because the South Node through 2021 and part of 2020 was in Sagittarius, which is about belief. And the North Node was in Gemini, which was about communication and gathering information. And, that information can come from different sources. It could come through the media. It could come through what you're reading. It can come through your conversations with people, and it can come through your conversations with your own higher self. But it was really important, I think, in 2021 to be open to a different perspective. And I feel like I didn't always navigate it well. There were times when I came up against some blowback, we'll call it, in certain situations. That's a good, I like that word, blowback. But, I sort of stepped back from it and reevaluated and then came to a place where, people are going to believe that people are going to believe. And until they're ready to be open to something other than what they believe, there's really not much you can do, but hold the space and love them, right? Love them. And I'm not saying that this, the other people's beliefs are wrong and mine are right. I'm just saying, I think it's really important, or this is what I've learned this year. It's really important to just accept people where they are, which I'm kind of like that anyway. But there were parts of,
Well, it was hard to do in 2021 and 2020 since, and we could go back to 2016, but we
well,
won't.
yes.
But it's hard because a dominant theme in the environment.
The Zeitgeist.
Yeah, that was division,
Yeah.
and black and white thinking. The whole country was in cognitive dissonance, and so many people were right and you were wrong, and there was the social media pushing certain agendas, and you were wrong if you did this, and you were only right if you did that, and to be able to break free. And I think that's part of the freedom. We all got tired of being told what to think, what to believe, what to do. And we got tired of it, and we started to say, you know what, I'm going to look at alternative news sources, and I'm going to look at other places where I might find a different perspective, because these two perspectives don't feel right. I'm somewhere in the middle. So yeah,
right. Which let me, if I can, because this is a great like explanation of the fact that in this time period, the nodes of the moon, which the nodes of the moon in an astrological chart is our collective emotional evolution. Mm-hmm. And the North Node, which is the direction forward, was in Gemini. And Gemini is about duality. Gemini is about black and white. Gemini is about the sort of the extremes. And it kind of works like you have one extreme here and one extreme here. But what is between those extremes is the doorway to a new consciousness. And so
it's the doorway to truth, because the truth is gray. Truth is not black and white.
No, and there's man's truth, and there's the truth of natural law. Mm-hmm. And so all truth to a certain extent is relative, because one person's, as we know, what's that expression? One person's trash is another person's treasure. Mm-hmm. One person's lie is another person's truth. And so we live in a dual existence. And to a certain extent, having the North Node in Gemini kind of has brought us to the brink of that duality. Now the nodes are shifting, and the node is going to be shifting into Taurus. The North Node in Taurus, the South Node in Scorpio. And so Taurus is what is essential in our lives. As we move through that 18-month period, a lot of these, like, this is my thought, this is your thought, all of that, it's like, it doesn't matter what you think if you can't survive, if you don't have food, if you don't have shelter, if you don't have, so we're going to have a lot of lessons around what we really, really need in our lives.
Essential needs are going to be
essential needs and essential relationships in our lives. And that, of course, we can talk about that at the end. I think maybe we'll have you pick a few cards just to like look forward to 2022. Yeah. So how about, I mean, is there something that we haven't spoken about yet that you've had a realization about in 2021, like for you?
Yeah, I've always believed, but haven't been able to practice as well as I had hoped. I'm going to put it a different way. I've always believed that being receptive and being open to receive new ideas, being open to receive guidance, being open to receive whatever messaging the universe has to offer me, and also to be able to receive other people's ideas without judgment. And this has been a value of mine that I've held for a long time. But in this past year to year and a half, I have had to really work at opening my heart in order to do that. because if I listen to all my beliefs and I'm ready to go at it, I can't hear anybody else. I can't hear another perspective. I can't change. I can't move in a new direction because I'm stuck. And what I've had to learn is to keep my mouth shut and just listen and listen for their truth, other people's truth. Why they're thinking differently than I do, but I want to find common ground. I want to find what it is their truth is meaning to them. And it being such a polarized environment, I had to learn how to listen more and speak less. And I had to learn how to say, I'm going to out myself here. One of the biggest things that happened is I started a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I'm going to just say not in favor of Republicans and not in favor of Donald Trump. Okay, I was not in favor of most of the stuff going on with them. And honestly, I'm still not. But
right, I understand what you're saying.
But in some aspects, I have come to honor some of the things that they were talking about a year and a half ago. For example, I am not an anti-vaxxer, and I don't even want to get into a big conversation. This is just to illustrate a point. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm glad the vaccines are out there. Glad people are taking them, but I can't for medical reasons, and I can't anyway. It's just not for me. I just know, and my doctor concurs and all that. So I haven't taken a vaccine. And all the people that were anti-vax, and like stomping in the streets, I'm like, what the heck is wrong with you? I mean, wow, if people don't want to get vaccinated, they shouldn't have to get vaccinated. I thought they were wrong. Now I understand their points because even though I'm not an anti-vaxxer, I understand that some people just can't take it, and that has to be okay. So there are 30% of in the United States that haven't been vaxxed, and they started to become scapegoats, and it was the disease of the unvaccinated, and there was a lot of blowback and people telling it's all because of the unvaccinated. Well, because I'm unvaccinated by medical and by choice, both, I took it personally for a little while. I'm like, hey, it's not my fault there's a freaking pandemic out there. I didn't create the pandemic, and I'm just doing the best I can. Well, I found a whole bunch of people I had to reach out because I felt so alone, because I'm not a Republican, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Proselytizer, not, and I don't want to proselytize about any of this stuff, but I found myself feeling like something's wrong here. And I had to reach out to some different people and find different groups and find different sources of information in order to come to the fact that it's okay that I'm
that I'm not vaccinated, that I've chosen not.
Okay, that I'm not a bad person because I'm not vaccinated. And now I understand some of the reasoning behind the anti-vax movement, because I was treated badly. Actually, I was actually demonized by a few people for being an unvaccinated person. So I've learned some lessons, and I'm learning not to, even when things look weird, things are not always what they appear to be on the surface. There's also a lesson underneath it that could be valuable. Even if I don't like the main part of the message, there's something always there for me to learn. And I've become a gentler, softer soul, and a more accepting soul and a more receiving soul. And it's been hard for me to stick to my guns because I've been so demonized by not having taken the vax. But I'm glad I did, because now I'm like, I'm okay, I'm good. And I understand why I'm doing it. And I understand why other people don't like it. And that's okay. To learn that everyone's just fine the way they are. I don't have to change anybody. I don't have to get mad at anybody. I have to receive whatever I need to receive and take in what I want to take in and let go of what I don't want to take in. That's all I have to do. I don't have to make a judgment. I don't have to say they're all right or all wrong, or I can find my own middle way. And I think I have really found that in so many areas of my life, not just the vaccination. I found a middle way for me that feels very comfortable.
So
the duality.
So this what you've said really, and what's going on with the vaccine and the people who are vaccinated, the people who aren't vaccinated, all of that. It's really a reflection of the major aspect that was occurring this year. and it will continue into 2022. So it's not going anywhere really. We're probably not going to really, the shift of whatever has to shift isn't really probably going to shift until we get to 2023. Because this energy that I'm going to talk about is throughout 2022 as well. And that's the square that's been going on between Uranus and Saturn. Saturn is the planet of rules and regulations and boundaries, and right, as a Capricorn, you can appreciate that.
Yes, yes.
And it's in a but it's in the sign of Aquarius. And Aquarius,
I love that.
Well,
because my rising's in Aquarius.
I know, but Saturn, Saturn is been going over that ascendant for you, which is and now is in your first house in your chart. She, I believe, if I remember, if your chart correctly in my head, but you have an Aquarius ascendant, which is what makes you odd.
I've always said that my Capricorn fights with my Aquarius.
Yeah, well, the nature of Aquarius, it has the nature, the nature of Capricorn, which is the tried and the true and the traditional. And it also has the energy of let's just blow it all up. So when you have Aquarius, you have both those things in you, and you have a lot of Capricorn, and then you also have that Aquarius. So for you, it's always going to be a fight between what you know to be right, and then, oh, wait a minute, maybe not, so.
Maybe it's time to open my mind and learn something new or think something new.
Right. So that's always going to be, as sure as you are of things, there's always going to.
Oh, don't you think 2021 has made us less sure about a lot of things in terms of the 3D world?
This is the point. This is the point that I'm not making yet, but the point of, so we have Saturn in Aquarius. So there's a couple of things about that. Saturn is the rules and the regulations, and Aquarius is how we're going to live with our fellow man. And so even though, Saturn is often seen as a bad guy, as as a Capricorn, people are like, oh, no, it's Saturn, so, but Saturn does structure our consciousness. And so we're moving from this in 2020, Saturn was in Capricorn, and then it moves into Aquarius. And so we've all had to sort of question our sense of authority. We've had to, that's also inner authority and outer authority. Now, in the meantime, we have Uranus, which is the natural ruler of Aquarius. So it has that nature of like blowing everything up, making a square, which creates crisis to Saturn. So we have Saturn square Uranus, but Saturn is already in a Uranus ruled sign. So I know that's a little technical, but so it's this constant like crisis in consciousness, crisis in belief, and that's going to continue through 2022. The difference is in 2022, we're working with a different numerological vibration, and there are a couple of other things happening in 2022 that are going to, I think, soften things. But this year has been very harsh. Those two planets coming together, it's like the clash of the titans. Mm-hmm. And it's upending the whole social fabric.
Yep.
But it's a necessary upending, because we have to realize that I think we have to realize two things from this, and that this could change, and I could say something different at the end of next year on your birthday when we get together again, is that we have to get to a point where we realize that we have to live with each other. And so we're going to have to make some concessions around our freedom to live in peace with one another. But we also have to come to the realization that we have to respect people's autonomy.
And we have to respect our own.
Well, I think that, I think if you're, I think that's, I guess. I mean,
probably already said that.
I don't know. It feels like it's in there already. Like, you just cannot going to agree on everything, and it has to be okay. and you have to respect the person for it. There's complications with the kind of information people are getting, and what the media does, and how and this whole like there's a fight going on for the attention of people. There's a fight going on for followers, and you follow me and I'm going to show you the way, and this is right, and this is, and we have to be able to direct ourselves through our own inner authority, and yet still be able to live in a society that maybe we don't agree with all the rules they have, but we still have to work within them. But it doesn't have to take away from our own sense of autonomy. I think that's what I want to say. And that's been for me 2021, just trying to trust what your instincts or your intuition is saying, and yet not like get into every fight about everything, because obviously that, and all that fighting just creates more chaos for those who thrive off of chaos and make money off of chaos. And so there's always going to be chaos to a certain extent, but if we can align ourselves, I think, with love and compassion and an open heart, it's like open mind, open heart, open arms, I think, is maybe a good mantra for 2022. My mantra for 2021 was be aware and take care. So I'm still working on my mantra for 2022.
That was really good. That was really astute. Yeah, there's been a lot going on with people finding their own footing. A lot of people have had a hard time even knowing what they want to believe, and going with one version for a while, and then going, I don't know about that, and then going for another version for a while, and finding your own inner authority, like you talked about, is all about being receptive and all about being open and being able to receive without judgment, and be able to listen without judgment. Judgment is the biggest stumbling block of humanity. This is what keeps people separated. This is what keeps people divided, is saying that you're absolutely right or you're absolutely wrong. And there are no absolutes in 3D. I think there are some maybe in 5D and higher. There are infallible laws like the law of attraction and the law of polarity and the law of gender, and there's a lot of
the universal laws. Those are the universal laws, the laws of nature. Those are
don't receive those until we have a certain level of acceptance of others in our own self. We're not able to receive the energies of all the universal gifts and laws and the wisdom from the laws until we can settle ourselves down and not be in fight or flight and not be in right or wrong. We've got to pull ourselves a little bit detached from polarity in order to be in that receptive mode, to get what we need in terms of our own way of preferring to walk on the planet, and to
and that all depends on our ability to hear that small still voice within, because that small still voice within is this voice of spirit. And we could call it the voice of God, we could call it the voice of goddess, we could call it the voice of the higher self, but it's the voice of the heart. It's the voice of that which holds everything together. And the nature of the mental plane is of division. I mean, we utilize that energy to say, this is black, this is white, this is a dog, this is a cat. That's all that very dual, that's the black and white stuff. But without black and white, there's no contrast. And so otherwise we'd all just be floating around. And
contrast always serves, in the long run.
Well, it's necessary because we live in a dual existence. Yeah. And it's the problem is when you are so fixated on one side of the equation, that you can't flow back and forth. And what the heart, what the energy of the heart does is it brings in that flow. Now we're in a 6 vibration. We're going to be moving into a 6 vibration. And 6 in the Kabbalah is located in Tiphereth, which is the Sephiroth of beauty, and is located in the heart chakra. So the vibration of 6 is going to bring in that 6 need for balance and compassion in the heart.
Wonderful.
And the 5th dimension, right? The 5th dimension is all about our awareness of the heart, because the 3 dimension is our solar plexus down.
Mm-hmm.
It's when we move into the heart chakra that we are moving into that 5th dimensional awareness, where you can sit back and say, okay, there's black, there's white, this is what this one thinks, this is what that one thinks, but it all comes down to love. And so when we spend time with our family, as you know, we can disagree with them. You know, sometimes things come up and it's really difficult, but if we just remember, we look in our heart and we say, this person in my family seems like they've lost their mind and they're crazy. But then you reach into your heart and you say, well, how do I feel about them? When you feel the love, then you know that you've transcended whatever judgment you have.
And you know when you've transcended, when you can be in a sort of a contentious situation or a, you know, power give and take
struggle,
or
yeah,
struggle like that. You know that you're ascending when you can be in that place with that person, watching them from a little bit of a detached stance and listening to them with your ears, but loving them with your heart at the same time. And this is the dichotomy of spiritual people walking on the planet in 3D. This is where we're coming in the 5th dimension, is we're able to step back now a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more and watch craziness or what appears to be insanity or what appears to be division or contention, and be able to say, oh, look, wow, that person's suffering, without joining in, without making it worse by arguing with that, and just watch it for a minute and then make a choice from that neutral place as to what is your next right step. You don't fix that person, but maybe you need to gently and kindly move away, or maybe you need to make a different choice about whether you want that person in your life or not. But that's your work. That's not the work of the argument that's being thrown at you. The work of the argument that's being thrown at you is, how do I get back to my heart? Like you said it beautifully. So that's the heart. That's the place that I'm moving to, is being able to watch what's going on, detached from a higher perspective, from a detached perspective, and say, well, that is serving them. Whatever's going on with them is serving them. They're that way for a reason. And I can remember times gone by when I had some very dysfunctional responses to stimuli in the 3D world. And I did the best I could at the time. People can only do the best they can. They can only go as far as their understanding goes. But the good news is people can always move to another level of understanding, but they can't if people are fighting with them all the time.
Right. And if you're not holding that love vibration.
If you're not holding the love, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep, love is where it's at. And love in the 3rd dimension and even the 4th dimension is a little bit different than love in the 5th dimension. And it's a process. And most humans are going from the 3rd to the 4th to the 5th to the 3rd to the 4th to the 5th, and in different situations and different times and with different people, and until we finally hit a cruising altitude, and we'll be in the 4th most of the time, and then jump into the 5th every now and then. And the way we know that is by our own reactions.
I've read that the 4th dimension is there's a destructive force in the 4th dimension, but to raise us to the 5th.
Well, it's only destructive in that we realize that we have to grow or go, we have to change or stay where we are. And, right. And there's a death to parts of our ego, and there's a death to old ways of repetitive behavior or old chronic belief systems. There's a death to all the stuff that no longer serves.
Right.
It's not a
Right,
death.
which is
But
really,
we can experience that as third dimensional people as a loss. I mean, there can be grief going along with being in the fourth dimension. We can
Yes,
have some grief. Yeah, we can have some grief. But if we recognize it as grief, and at some point, if we continue on our journey and keep open and receptive and try to live through the heart, we can look at ourselves when we're in pain with that same detached love. That, wow, look where you are. Look what you're feeling. And
been
just,
there, done
yeah,
that. I get
yeah.
you. Right?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And
Um,
you can be kind, learn how to be kind and compassionate without necessarily magnifying the drama part of it, and just let yourself be what you got to be and love it and not judge it and be compassionate.
well, if you study the rays, the 7 rays.
Oh, I did my final project on that.
Yeah,
the 12 rays.
Well, I'm talking about this. I'm talking about, well, yeah.
It's
no,
the
but
same tradition, but it's an offshoot. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm talking
Heaven
about
was first.
the Alice Bailey work, right?
I studied her.
The 4th ray is harmony through conflict.
Mhm.
And that's the ray of humanity. That's how we learn. We find harmony after conflict. And hopefully 2022 will be a more harmonious year through the conflict of 2021. And but we'll see. The more that people are aware of this stuff, the more high teas that we do, as it were. I mean, the people who are watching this are people who are vibrating on some similar level to us. So I think they're having similar experiences. And I think when we talk about how we manage these things, I think it's helpful for people. And I think that everybody has a story, and the stories need to be told, because I think that when you realize that you're not alone in your journey, it makes for a much easier time of it.
Can I ask a question? One of the things that you talked about earlier, which was really profound and helpful, was finding a way to be able to listen to the small, still voice within. I'm wondering if we could have a chat, just a brief chat about some ways to do that, because some people might hear that and go, yeah, that's great, but what does that mean? Some people might not necessarily already have a practice of learning how to do that or practicing that. And I know that one of the ways that you do it is by being out in nature and loving and appreciating every blade of grass and every petal on every flower, and appreciating the gray days and how the trees contrast the sky. And I mean, you are beautifully attuned to nature, and I see it in you when I'm with you, and I see it with you on your daily videos. That is you listening to this one way that you listen for the still small voice, by paying attention to what you appreciate. And that does something to the whole being, to the whole nervous system. And, it changes. And you are more receptive to messaging, because that is a similar effect in the brain to meditation.
Right.
It's not the exact same thing, but it's very similar in that your thoughts and your ego are quiet in that moment. And when you're paying attention to nature, for some period of time after that, you're receptive and you're calmer and you're quieter. Now, do you have other ways of listening to the still small voice, or do you have suggestions for people?
Well, you need to quiet your mind. So the attention has to go from the outside to the inside. So being introspective, just being quiet, or maybe listening to music. Some people, like my husband, Michael, he's a great, he goes out to outside as well, and he's more like working in the soil kind of thing. Like
that's beautiful.
That helps him. But for him, music is a great, and he when he's cooking or he's doing anything in the house, he's like, I'm going to put music on. I'm like, okay. And he's doing music and he's dancing and he's moving his body. I mean, he's not like really dancing, but he has his own, like, especially when he's cooking, he's like, it's like watching a great drummer, bing, you know,
Oh,
like
he's a
that.
great
Yeah,
chef.
so he has a beautiful way of so for him, music works. For me, I just have to go out into nature and just breathe and feel the air and listen to the birds. Sometimes, you know, if it's shitty out, okay, if it's not nice weather, I'll just sit. I have the bird feeders, you know, I just watch the birds eat. And I just watching animals like my first the first pet I had, well, I had cats, but I had bunnies for a while. And and before I got dogs, I got bunnies. And bunnies are great because they're so very sweet and gentle, and they're so interesting to watch, hopping around. And then they're like cats. They clean themselves constantly, and then they're bopping each other's noses. And it's just I would just sit there in my stress and watch the bunnies, and I would just be like, oh. So I think that nature, music is a good thing. Just quieting yourself is a good thing. I mean, there's so many ways to do it, but it has to be you have to be able to, whatever's going to help you get inside,
Mhm.
I think is what I think. And then you'll hear things, then you'll know things. But when
Right.
everybody's chitter chattering and you're watching CNN or MSNBC or Fox News, whatever you choose to
That's
do,
not listening to the
or
small
you're
voice.
on social media, like
Yeah.
that is not, that's input. That's input from the outside. You need to find a way to quiet all that down so that you can hear the
Right.
voice. And you
Well,
know,
one of the things that I teach people, because most people that come to me for mentoring don't have an established quieting practice or relaxation practice or listening to the still small voice practice. Many of them don't, or they thought they did, but it wasn't as effective anymore, so they needed something else. And there are so many ways to quiet the mind. I have one particular client who is really, really, really resistant to meditation. And meditation, there's a million different kinds of meditation, and I'm not here to promote any one particular kind, but if you can find a type of meditation that works for you, that's the best, in my opinion. But if it doesn't work, then you need to go somewhere else and do it a different way. And they other ways work equally well. For some people just, anyway, with this particular client, I tried all different heart coherence meditations, uh, breathing, not even really meditating, but breath work. I taught her some breath work, and that always helped her, but she just couldn't keep it up at home. She always liked the breathing, but she couldn't keep it up. She never breathed again until she saw me again, you know. Not really. I mean, she'd
I
breathe,
understand.
you know, she'd do shallow breathing until she saw me again. And she's like, I don't know why I don't just breathe. And I'm like, well, you'll get it. Eventually you'll get a habit of breathing, you know, that'll work for you. So the last session we had, I said, have you ever tried a candle flame meditation? And she said, no. I said, let's do that, because you get to keep your eyes open and you get to look at something that is fascinating, and it'll take you into a different brainwave state of a light meditation. And she said, oh, I'll try it. I don't know if it'll work, but I'll try. She was blessed. She just loved it. She said she was looking at the aura around the candle and the blue inside the candle and the different colors and the movement, and how she got the candle to flicker in harmony with her own heartbeat. I mean, it was just like, wow, wow. So just staring at a candle flame with the intention to quiet the mind, you kind of need to have that intention. Or standing, if you're burning things outside, or you have a chimenea or a fireplace or whatever, staring at flame is ancient. That's but prehistoric people got their still small voice, listen to their still small voices with
Well, that
fire.
was the only voice that was, you know, back in the day, that was the only thing, you know, we were so much more connected to nature.
Well, yeah, you're
Yeah.
sitting on a rock, you know, in the woods and staring at a flame over the sky, over the moon, over the star, you know, yeah, that's about as good as it gets. But so that's a good one. And there are walking meditations, some Buddhist walking meditations, walking, counting while you're walking meditations. that if you can do that for 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, you are outside of your ego, you're outside of your mind, your eyes are still open, your body's still moving. So people with ADHD sometimes benefit really strongly from a walking.
Yeah, I was thinking OCD. That would be like all the counting stuff. They like to count anyway, right?
Well, it might work for them, or it might
Or it might get worse.
I don't know, but it's always worth a try, because it's
Right,
it's
right.
good to walk, right? I mean, it's good for your body.
Right,
So there's a million different ways, and I love to teach. I love to help people go on a journey to help them. That's one of the things that I love to do, is to teach them 10 different ways to quiet their minds, or 12 different ways, until they find the ones that work for them.
right.
And coloring, mandalas, coloring, adult coloring books, mandala books, or whatever, that works for some people. It completely takes, I get really still when I'm doing dishes. I don't know why. I have a dishwasher, but I wash my own dishes. And I think it's because I'm looking out the window and watching the birds going by. I usually have music on in the background, or I have some inspirational YouTube video. Maybe it's you, or Lee Harris, or Abraham Hicks.
I love Lee.
Oh, me too. He's great. So anyway, washing dishes is very meditative for me. And and my daughter thinks I'm crazy. She says, well, when was the last time you used your dishwasher? I'm like, I don't know. I like to wash dishes. I don't know. It's something that's calming for me. So
if washing dishes brought me to another state, I'd be a llama by now, with the amount of dishes my husband creates when he's creating his delicious meal.
that was he's a fabulous cook. I have never been to your house where when he's cooked me something that I haven't absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
well, that's how he does it.
Baker too. He's a really good baker. His biscottis,
I know.
Die for. So anyway, why
don't we're getting close to the end of the hour. So why don't we look to 2020? I've talked a little bit about 2022 coming up. If you'd like to pull some cards and see what
I would like to pull some cards on 2022, and I would like to do a brief channel, if that's okay.
My ears are open.
Okay.
My heart is open.
I'm going to ask everyone that is watching this, if you could just sit still, and while I'm shuffling and getting myself prepared to do this reading, that you just do a few very deep diaphragmatic breaths and close your eyes for a minute and just relax. Just relax your head, your neck, your shoulders, your chest, your spine. Relax your inner organs, your lower back, your hips, your glutes, your thighs. Relax, relax, soften, let go. If you find a place of tension, then love it. Send it some love, heart energy, and just love it. And say thank you to it, because it's teaching you something. We can be grateful for everything when we're attuned. And that is tuning into your body, and that's always a good thing. So just give me 1 second. Okay, they're all here. I have a whole team. They're here. Personal fear, and fear of what the collective is going to do. And by the collective, that means large organizations such as governments or large businesses. Fear of power over are in the process of becoming less of a focus for humanity. It's still there, but more and more humans are at this point deciding not to live from fear. And they haven't quite mastered all the skills yet, but they've made the decision. And once you've made the decision to live from a place of centeredness, alignment, peace, and calm, and let go of fear, whether it's personal fear or collective fear, then that starts through the law of attraction, those changes in motion. So the change is in motion for a large number of people in the collective to learn how to live from their authentic heart, as opposed to react and respond to outside stimuli, to what's going on in the news, to what's going on with whatever is in the third dimensional level. More and more people are learning how to understand that they are more than their bodies, and that everything has a higher dimension. They have many higher dimensions as humans. Animals have a higher dimension. The Mother Earth has many higher dimensions. She is brilliant, and she has an infinite capacity to heal herself. So one thing we would ask is that people stop talking to each other about the destruction of this planet, because that is not going to happen. Between the brilliance and radiance and receiving of high vibrational ideas from the scientists, from the environmentalists, from the oceanographers, from the people that are saving the rainforest, through activism, through peaceful activism, through the emanations of Mother Earth, this beautiful planet, it's not going anywhere. It is our job to take care of it. It is our meaning, our spiritual and collective duty to do the best we can for our host, which is Mother, the Mother Planet, the Mother Earth. And it is not our duty to worry ourselves into a state. That doesn't help. Worry is asking for what you don't want. That worry is like a prayer. Worry is like praying for what you don't want. Letting go of fear, letting go of worry, letting go of anxiety. This earth is going to survive. And over the next 10 years, people are going to see that eradication of fear-based responses is the biggest thing that they can do to help the planet. Because with less fear comes more receiving of ideas, receiving of new technologies, receiving of new emanations and love from many dimensions and many beings, including all the earth beings. And Mother is, we call them Mother, but there are many, many emanations from the Mother Earth. She is not going to be killed. She's too strong. And the people that live on her, and the animals that live on her, and the people the farmers, and all these people that live close to the planet are giving her so much love. She's getting enough. She could use more. She's used more love. Always she could use more love. But we're going to be okay. Human beings are going to be okay. Animals are going to be okay. This is a long-term vision. In the meantime, stay in your heart. I'm going to open some cards right now. The planet is going to make it. And the United States government is going to do some dramatic changing in the next 10 years. You'll see some of it coming little by little in 22 and 23 and 24. Big changes are coming. So please remain hopeful and tell the story you want to see rather than the story you don't want to see, because that adds to the momentum of that manifestation of a government that serves the people as it says it does. Oh dear, oh, this is so beautiful. Oh, thank you. This is my receiving mode. This is Denise again. This is my receiving mode, and it's beautiful. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know what it looks like, but it feels really good. The first card is Judgment. And moving from 3D judgment to the higher self is what it's all about. This is where we need to go. Judgment creates fear. Fear and judgment work hand in hand. Without judgment, we don't have as much opportunity for fear. So let's live from our highest self and think the best and hope and have total expectation of good of each other and of the planet and of yourself. Let your highest self run the show. and really do whatever you can to release yourself from judgment of any kind, even if it's judgment against yourself, especially judgment against yourself. When you hear yourself saying, oh, you're so stupid, or oh, you're not good enough, or oh, your hair looks like shit today, or any of that stuff, let that go and do this. The second card, appreciation.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Divine helpers. I'm getting goosebumps. I guess I've been channeling through this whole hour because all the same ideas are coming up in the cards. Let your divine helpers help you find appreciation and listening to the still small voice. When you're listening to the still small voice, you're only going to get appreciation. You're not going to get anything else because you are loved beyond measure by every being, every energy, everything that represents the creative life force, every angel, every source connection. You are loved, and they want you to appreciate being human because they see the benefits in being human, and they look at you and they're like, why spend it in judgment and worry? Spend it in appreciation, love every minute, feel everything that feels good, and eat everything that tastes good, and love the flowers, and know that everything is harmonious. Look at this picture. All is well. Everything is harmonious. This is the picture you need to hold in your heart, and remember that this is real. This is real. This really exists. And we just have to think our way into it and feel our way into it and appreciate our way into it. Okay. And this, you're not even going to believe this card. The last card, new life, the divine mother.
Oh, I love it.
That just wraps it all up.
Yeah,
in a nutshell. The mother is loving you, and you are, and the more you love the mother, the more love you receive back. So walk around your yard and tell your grass that you love it, and tell the little berries on the dead bushes, tell them how you appreciate that color, that red, that beauty that reminds you of the mother. Find appreciation for the plants in your home. Find appreciation for the farmers that are growing your food. And every single time you sit down to a meal, acknowledge something wonderful about someone that brought you that food. Bless your water. Bless it. Say, I love you, water. I thank you, water. And I bless you, and I bless all the waters of the planet. Think big when it comes to blessing. Bless all the time. Bless all the time. Bless, bless, bless. And new life is growing. New ideas are growing. New ways of being are growing. New governments are growing. And even if we can't see it, it's happening. It's growing. Look at all the green. Look at all the beauty, all the stuff, those things that are growing. And mama taking care of her baby. The United States is a freaking baby. And we're being taken care of. We're being brought up. We're being raised. We are being raised. And we're the ones doing it. The light people, the people that are aware, the people that are ascending themselves, the people that are not in judgment and fear all the time and know how to work their way out when they get there. Amen. Much love. Oh my God, there's just so much love here.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you. I think that's a beautiful way to round off 2021, knowing that with suspending judgment, trusting in the universe, in the goodness of the universe, in the goodness of people,
yes,
in the goodness of the things that we can create with Mother Earth. I have a lot of hope for 2022, and I'm so grateful to have you in my life, Denise. Happy birthday. I think we're going to have another very interesting year to navigate. And hold on a second. Sorry about that. Okay, I have to. So we'll have to go because this person's going to leave a message and we're going to hear it. So.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity, of course, of spending another hour or so with you, doing a high tea, and I say hello to all your people out there. If anyone wants a channel reading, get a hold of Vicki and we can make that happen. Or get a hold of me or whatever.
I'll put your link in the descriptor.
Okay.
So if you want to, I'll put your website they
Okay.
can connect with you through that, and also take a look at all the services that you offer.
Much love to all.
All right, everyone. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you so much, Vicki. Should I stay or go? Vicki, should I stay or